neighbor's tree, and everybody hated him. And he had these berries, and they would just get everywhere. They would get in my neighbor's yard, and in my yard, and down the streets, and around the corner, and they would stick on your shoes and stain your carpet. And everyone hated this tree. And they would say to him, "You have to move. You don't belong here. You belong in a park somewhere." And the tree said, "Nope. This is where I was born. This is where I grew, and this is where I'm meant to be."
Yeah, I had a tree in my neighborhood too, and it was always felt like it was meant to be there. And it was this beautiful cherry tree. And every single year, the tree's leaves would bloom pink and then turn white. And I spent a lot of time around this tree growing up. And I grew up hearing this song, because my dad would always be humming it and always singing it. So, especially when we were around the tree. So one day I asked him, I said, "Why are you always singing that song?" And he said, "You don't hear that?" "No." And he said, "Well, listen closer, because whenever you're walking past the tree and the wind hits the leaves at just the right angle, you can hear the tree singing this song."
The tree in my neighborhood was so stubborn. He didn't want to move. So he decided to grow taller so he wouldn't have to hear the people complain. And so he grew and he grew and he grew until finally the tips of his branches were poking up against the clouds. And he was happy because he couldn't hear the people, but the clouds were very unhappy. And one day they said to him, "You have to move. You don't belong here. You belong in a forest somewhere." And the tree said, "Nope. This is where I was born. This is where I grew, and this is where I'm meant to be."
Yeah, so my dad explained to me that the tree wasn't born in my neighborhood. Apparently, a family had brought it over years ago from Japan. And it was a father and son. And the father brought it over so that the son could always remember where he came from. And so as the father and son planted this tree in their front yard, the father said to the son, "Son, always respect this tree. Because just like you and I, this tree has a soul. And just like our souls, its soul came from another living thing. And just like our souls, when the tree dies, it'll go on to another living thing." And so the boy loved the tree. He spent all of his time with it. And he also loved singing. So when he would want to sing and no one would listen, he would sing to the tree. "Oh, my soul, how it roams, I watch it go to and fro."
So this one day, all the clouds got together and they decided to make a storm to get the tree to move. And first they called the rain, and the rain came and it was cold and the tree was shaking, and he said, "Nope, this is where I was born." And then they called the wind, and the wind came and it was so strong, the tree was shaped like swaying from side to side. And he said, "Nope, this is where I grew." Until finally they called the lightning. And the lightning came with one big crack, hit the tree right in the middle of the trunk, and the tree began to fall, and as he fell he shouted, "This is where I'm meant to be!"
And so the boy loved the tree so much that he never moved away from it. So soon he grew up to be a man, and the man grew up to be an old man, and he got to know the tree so well over the course of his life that he knew exactly what time of year it would bloom pink, and that its leaves would turn white. Until one year the old man waited, and he waited, and the tree didn't bloom. And this saddened the old man, so he would go out and try to sing to it 7 days a week, but still it wouldn't bloom. And soon everybody in the neighborhood grew concerned because their kids were going to play on the tree, and they were worried that the branches would snap and their kids would get hurt, and it was really unsightly. So one day everybody in the neighborhood came to the old man and asked him to cut the tree down.
The next day, the sky was clear and this tall tree was down, and my neighbor came out with this big chainsaw and he started cutting the tree up, and my neighbors were all so happy that this tree would be gone and that those berries would be gone, that they helped him carry huge pieces of the tree's trunk and its branches out to the woods behind our houses. And so all that was left is this strong, stubborn tree with this sad little stump.
So everybody in the neighborhood woke up one morning to see this bright glow coming from their windows, and it was pink. So they went to their windows to see what happened, and what had happened, but the cherry tree had bloomed. So they all rushed out their front doors, and when they got to the cherry tree, what was underneath but the old man laying there? And ever after, everyone has said that the old man gave his soul to the tree. And so, my father said, whenever you're walking past the tree, and the wind hits the leaves at just the right angle, you can hear the old man's soul singing.
A few days later, I decided to go out to the stump. And I said, "How you doing, Stump?" And he said, "Not well." And I said, "Well, Stump, do you think you'll ever find a place where you'll belong?" And he said, "I belong here. Everyone complained about my berries, but What they didn't think about was that my berries nourished the soil. They fed all the animals and the birds of our neighborhood. And right now, my trunk is out in the woods giving new life. So, even though I'm just a stump, this is where I was born, this is where I grew, and this is where I will always be.
So the very day after my dad told me this story, I was walking past the tree, and I just had this urge to climb it. As I got up close to the top, a huge gust of wind blew. Oh, my soul, how it roams. I watch it go to